Hello everyone, my name is Lewis. I'm from ECorp English. Today's lesson is about your home and talking about how to describe your house. So let's go. Firstly, we will introduce where you live and the types of home. Let's start with a simple sentence. I live in a big house. You could also say, I live in an apartment, or I live in flats, or a villa. In Britain, sometimes people say flat. Flat and apartment have the same meaning. So next, let's go into a little bit more detail about what kind of house or apartment it is. For example, I live in a small two-story house in the suburbs. When we say how many floors a building has, we normally use the word story. For example, you can live in a two-story house or a four-story apartment building. I live in an apartment on the third floor of a four-story building. There are many different kinds of apartments and houses. For example, do you live in a terraced house? Or do you live in a semi-detached house? Or maybe, do you live in a detached house? A semi-detached house has another house only on one side. Terraced houses have other houses on both sides. And a detached house stands alone by itself. Detached houses are normally larger and cost more money, while terraced houses are normally smaller and cheaper. What kind of house is most popular in your hometown? What about apartments? Many apartments are in apartment buildings. Easy enough, right? If you live in a very tall building with many floors, you can say you live in a high-rise in the US, or where I'm from in the UK, you can say you live in a tower block. Sometimes a house is divided into apartments. These are called converted apartments. Apartments come in many different sizes. If an apartment has just one room with a bedroom and a living room together, we call it a studio. Of course, you can get bigger apartments. You can get 2-bedroom apartments or 3-bedroom apartments, and so on. Large apartments might be called duplex apartments. This means the apartment has more than one floor. What about you? Where do you live? In a house or in an apartment? Can you make some sentences with the vocabulary from this section? For example, I live in a 2-story terraced house. I live in an apartment on the 28th floor of a high-rise building. I live in a converted studio apartment. Next, let's see how you can describe the inside of your home in more detail. Number 2, describing your home. If you want to describe your home, what can you talk about? Well, you could start by talking about what rooms it has. For example, my house has 2 bedrooms, a kitchen, a living room, and a garden. It's always better to add adjectives or details to make your speaking more interesting. Let's try. My house has 2 small bedrooms, a kitchen with a dining table, and a living room with big windows and a small garden. What other rooms might you have in your home? You might have a dining room where people can sit and eat together. Maybe you have a study or office where you can work. If you live in a warmer country, you might have a balcony or even a terrace where you can sit outside. What about your home? What rooms does it have? Does your home have a garden or a balcony or another kind of outside area? Try to make 1 or 2 sentences about your home. For example, I live in a 2-bedroom apartment. The bedrooms are quite small, but there's a big living room with a dining area, a modern kitchen, and also a small balcony where you can sit outside in the summer. What can you say about your home? Number 3, saying what you like and dislike. Okay, now you can hopefully give some facts about where you live. But what about your opinion? What do you like about your home, and what would you change if you could? Let's look at some words you could use. Positive words you can use to describe your home include spacious, large and with lots of rooms. Cozy, comfortable in a warm way. Light describes a home which gets lots of natural light. Warm, cool, comfortable in the winter and the summer. Convenient, close to shops, your job, transport and so on. You can use convenient plus for example, it's convenient for the subway. It's convenient for my office. Could you use any of these words to describe your home? What if you don't like where you live? Here are some words you could use. Cramped, too small, so you don't have enough space. Dark, doesn't get enough light, so it's dark inside, even when it's sunny outside. Drafty, cold air comes in the winter. Stuffy, there's not enough air, so it's uncomfortable in hot weather. Noisy, if your home is near a main road, it might be noisy even at night. Can you make a sentence about your home using some of these words? For example, my house is light and spacious, but it is also very drafty in winter. I like my apartment because it's cozy, although it can be noisy because there's a restaurant just downstairs. Okay, now you can say something about your home and what you think of it. What else can you talk about on this topic? Number 4, saying who you live with. Who do you live with? Do you live with your parents, your husband or wife, or your family? Or do you live with flatmates, people that you share a rented apartment with, or friends? Let's look at examples of what you could say here. I live with my parents. I live in a shared house. I have 4 flatmates. I live by myself. What about you? Okay, that was easy. There's one more thing we can talk about. Let's look. Number 5, describing your neighborhood. First, be careful with the word neighborhood. Neighborhood is not a person. Neighborhood is the area around your home. So where is your home? Is it in the city centre, in the suburbs, or somewhere outside of the city? If you live outside the city, do you live on the outskirts, in a village, or in the middle of nowhere? How could you describe your neighbourhood? Is it quiet or lively, trendy or boring? Are there many cafes, bars, restaurants, or other things to do? Are there shops, parks, or sports facilities? For example, you could say, I live in a very lively area just south of the city centre. There are lots of cafes and shops and other places to go. Or, I live in a quiet neighbourhood in the suburbs in the north of the city. It's a new area, but it's also quite boring. There isn't really anything to do. What about you? Can you say something about your neighbourhood? Number 6, review. Now let's try to put everything together. If you use everything we've looked at, you should be able to produce a clear, detailed paragraph of talking about your home. For example, I live in a 2-storey terraced house. It has 2 bedrooms, a living room, a small kitchen and a garden. It's cosy and convenient for getting to work, but it's a bit cramped, especially when we have guests. I live with my wife and daughter. Our house is near the city centre, in a quiet neighbourhood. There isn't much to do, but there are some small shops and a park where we go if the weather's nice. Here's one more for you. I live by myself in a studio apartment. It just has one main room with a tiny kitchen. It's very warm in winter, but it can get a bit stuffy in summer. I live in the city centre, very close to everything. It's very lively, with lots of bars and restaurants. It's a good place for young people to live, but not many families choose to live here. What about you? Can you make an answer like this to talk about where you live? Try to use some of the language from this lesson. Finally, thanks for watching our video. Please remember to like, share and subscribe for upcoming videos. Thank you. Goodbye.